Our school calendar is is very definite in terms of how days are going to be used. We don't build the days in, but in essence, we just keep adding the days on until we get to the end of the school year. This has been an unusual year, and that is why I'm coming before you, asking you to think about the days that we have ahead of us that we should turn into school days rather than vacation days. I think the youngsters have been home enough. You know, part of this whole process has been to break the cycle of influenza when kids are, you know, in school over a long period of time. The February break presented itself. We have a very short break. We don't have a long break, but still it is a break. Families have planned accordingly. But I stand here telling you that in June, we begin getting phone calls to release schools, you know, because of the heat level. So not only are we losing school now, I will venture to say we'll be losing schools if we go too far into June. This is a very unusual year, and I think that you should at least have the debate and discussion on whether or not we want to add some instructional days back to the school days. With March coming in, as you know, with testing and what have you, we've already had such episodic years and really affecting us in not a very positive way. They do consider those 2 days and a half day on Thursday as full school days. We did do a survey for the first time. Our new alert system has that capability. We were able to send out information. As Mrs. Murphy mentioned, not everyone received the call. Some folks have asked to be off the call list. They don't like to get the 4:30, 5 o'clock call in the morning. I know the feeling for that, but that we can't help. Maybe we can do it better, but at this point, we decided to at least give you a flavor of what we're getting from the public. I received calls on both sides saying, yeah, it's a good deal, but we have to change our plans. I would agree. I think you have to hold people harmless. This is, it's very short. Had we had a meeting last week, we might have been able to discuss it then. So I think we need to deliberate. I put it in here as information. If it gets to the level where you want to discuss it in a motion, then you can raise it as an item on the board to vote on. It's certainly up to you. And I'll let Bill at least share the information that we've been able to garner from the phone calls.
Thank you. Just want to go back to one of the comments that was made. Very valid point about building in snow days. As Sal said, we don't have them listed, but our tentative last day of school is June 15th. So we have ample time from June 15th to June 30th to be able to accommodate typical 3, 4, 5 days snowfall that we get. We've already had 8 snow days this year, and that's what makes it such an anomaly. We go back and forth every year with the dates. We look at all the surrounding communities, ask them, we do a regional thing, we do a statewide review, we talk to our citywide PTO group, and basically anybody else who has something to share with us. We started August 26th this year for staff, for our new staff. So we're already starting into, relatively deep into August. We can back that up. There's always an option to do that. However, traditionally, we've not had a problem like this. This is my 12th year in Danbury, and we've never seen anything like this. As a matter of fact, this is my 38th year in education. I've never seen anything like this winter. Hope never to see it again. But the idea of making sure that we have a buffer at the end is a point extremely well taken. A couple of quick points, because we've had parents ask us questions like this. It is illegal for us to go to school on Saturday or Sunday. If we add hours onto a given week or 2 weeks, let's say we add 1 hour each day for 6 days, that gives us 6 days of instruction, 6 hours of instruction over 6 days. We can do that. The problem is it doesn't count for that lost day. You have to have an actual day in the calendar. So it has to be one of the weekdays. With that said, going back to the survey, we surveyed the parents. We received 5,010 responses. There were 3 questions actually, 2 regarding the snow days, and 1 was the choice of how you would like to be notified. Of the 5,010, 3,233 parents indicated that they would prefer not to have the February break for the 2 days and maintain the April break. 1,777 said they would prefer not to come to school on the February break. To come to school on the February break, but not to have the full April break, and keep shaving off the days as necessary. So as you can see, preponderance of requests have been to eliminate the February break and maintain the April break. Anecdotally, we've been getting many people calling saying, we always look at the April vacation as kind of the sacred time and the time that really won't have to worry too much about snow days. We've made many plans for traveling, hotel accommodations, so on and so forth. We surveyed the staff as well, and pretty much the same profile popped up. We received 827 responses from the staff. 618 of those responses said they would prefer to shave off the February break. 209 said they would prefer to take it off of the April break. So the overwhelming feedback coming in from those folks who have responded support the idea of the board at least considering the February break as being eliminated. Third part of that is when we ask parents how they'd like to be surveyed or communicated, how they'd like for us to communicate with them. We gave them 4 choices. Instant messenger, the school messaging system was number 1. We asked them if they would prefer a phone call, if they would prefer a text message, an email, or posting on our district website. 60% said we definitely would like to have the instant message system be the primary vehicle, and the other 3 were kind of balanced in their responses. So again, the overwhelming responses, we would like to have the instant messenger continue. The last piece is, as we look at this, we have February 17th as the day before the February break. It's Friday the 18th, Monday the 21st. If we eliminate those 2 days, we can eliminate President's Day, but we would have to have formal recognitions in each of our schools recognizing President's Day. It's up to us to determine what that would actually look like, but we do have to, by law, have some kind of recognition. The day before, the 18th, Thursday, is a professional development day. We haven't as yet. It's atypical for us to talk to the union in public session like this with Cindy.
I've talked to Kim.
Oh, good. Okay.
Briefly.
Thank you. Good. It's a teacher evaluation and half day for professional development. The idea then would be to make that a whole day for instructional purposes, so we're able to recoup instructional time. And doing that, it would give us a full day on the 17th, a full day on the 18th, and a full day on the 21st. Gives us more contiguous instruction. But in fairness to the union, we would move February 17th to March 22nd, which is already a half day on our calendar. It's just not for teacher evaluation. We would take that and give it back as the teacher evaluation day. So we're just swapping dates when it comes down to be.
Just to note that we've already added the 5 days on to the end of the year. We've done that the past few years, and that's why currently we're up to the 27th. This puts us in that last week in June where it's, I think, this is somewhat, it's a safety issue. We don't have air-conditioned schools, except the areas where the computers are out in the offices, so it is somewhat problematic. There's some union discussion that was going on too. Kim, do you want to make some comments regarding that?
Sure.
Let me just start by saying I had the good fortune, just in terms of timing, to go to the Casco, Connecticut Association of School Personnel Directors meeting last February, and I can assure you that my email
not last February.
Last Friday, and I can assure you that my email is overflowing with the dialogue that's now going on among personnel directors. And so far, we've heard from about 30 of them, all of whom are contemplating some combination of what we're talking about today, whether it's taking some of the February days, moving PD days. We also had a lot of districts that started at 182 days, so they're taking some of those days away. So I can assure you that everything has been on the table for all of these districts, and everybody's contemplating similar action. The one big question mark, and I have talked with Mrs. Mearsheen also about it, the big question mark among all of us is, what do we do with the people who have pre-committed vacation time, paid plane tickets, non-refundable plane tickets, and how do we handle that? And to be honest, that's also kind of a jump ball. We have in Danbury, we do have a past practice, although it's very, very old, of if we take a day from April, that those people who had pre-made plans could take the day, but that they would be docked. So that's the only experience that we've had so far. There are other districts out there that are considering not just docking, but maybe having those people who take the vacation use their, or pay for the price of a sub, which would be slightly less than their 1 day's pay. So I guess my comments are designed to say, I can't even narrow it down for you about what other districts are doing. Everybody is flying the plane as they're building it and trying to figure out the best way around it. We do also, in some of our other contracts, like for example the secretaries, there are provisions in there that if they do work on holidays that we can give a comp day, so that may be a non-financial ramification. If we do call in people on the days that we've already scheduled for them to have vacation time or for the holiday day. I'm not sure that's all that helpful. I can't really give you a whole lot of information about which direction the prevailing wind is going, other than to say everybody's looking at it.
Any other comments? Elliot? You know, and if I was sitting in your seat, I'd ask him how many people would affect. It's just too, with all the employees that we have, it's just too difficult to ask that question. It's 2 days. I would agree with the speaker. I would hold them harmless and figure a way of using personal days and what have you, if they can demonstrate that in fact they had a prearranged vacation. And kids shouldn't be charged an excuse absence as well. If you were to decide to think about, what we have. You can see it's brought a lot of problems. It would be easier just add the days to the 30th, go into April, and and let bygones be bygones. But I think you need to at least think about it.
Mr. Janela.
Sal, in the packet, there's a letter from you to the board which makes reference to May 27th.
We discussed that, not to eliminate that. It's problematic for us. There's a lot of commitments made that day.
So I'm not going to
Yes. The only days we're considering, we think you should consider, would be the Friday and Monday. At this point. Remember, we have half the winter to go. You may be doing it anyway. You have half the winter to go. That's what worries me some more. Yes, I would eliminate that because there have been a lot of commitments for teachers that day.
Mr. Skarsgård.
Dr. Sale, I think I asked a question at a prior meeting or a meeting. You remember when you gave me the calendar? So we have to go to the 30th, and then you didn't really know we were going to be off in April. Remember that?
Right.
Particular. But we did make a commitment. The board did make a commitment for that. The 30th, and then, was it April?
Yeah, that's what the calendar says.
Right.
That's correct.
So why we,
I explain why.
because of the heat, I mean, why would we made that commitment knowing that this always possibly could happen, it's rare, but it could possibly happen. But I'm looking at the board and digging and they're committing.
Yeah,
Everybody knows.
And I'm saying again, you could,
April. I'm not sticking up for anybody. We may be digging into everything in another few, but we don't really know. We got to open up. You understand what I'm saying?
well, I
We
agree.
go to this, no.
I think this year, as demonstrated with your audience before, with exams and everything, there's been some different things happening. I can tell you that I'm somewhat worried about the last week. You have some way of fixing that right now a little bit by doing this. That's all. And I think, yeah, it does say it on there. Absolutely, it's put on there, I know that. But I think that I need to raise it with you because I'm
I really don't think, if I may, Irving, I don't know how we could handle this. Nobody's going to be happy with this. There's not 100%. My fellow board members and Dr. Sullivan happy with this. Somebody's going to be unhappy somewhere along the line. So we just have to make a commitment. If we do feel we have to make a commitment to the least. Is that why you sent these letters out? I didn't even know you did that.
I sent the letter out because I think you need some more instructional time. And we were asked to get the feeling of others when we come here. Not to sway you, but simply to say, there's an element out there that think that it's a good idea to have kids come to school.
So what is your recommendation?
My recommendation is bring it back, eliminate the Thursday afternoon and make it a full day. Hopefully we won't have a snow day. And then Friday and Monday. That might happen and have the kids come back. If not, then we just keep adding on till we get to the 30th and then we bounce into April. And I will tell you, I've been in the district, I've been in Illinois where they have the days that are embedded in our calendar. And when we went, inevitably, we went into April, and if you think that's a smooth sailing because you have it on here, I'll sell you a bridge sometime in Brooklyn. it is a problem for April as well. Don't kid yourself. People start getting, it really is an issue. So I say it on here, but you'd have more to stand on, because it doesn't say anything about February. Absolutely, so, you know, that's not to our advantage.
Ms. Johnson?
The other argument that I think we've all been batting around too is the issue of continuity of instruction. I mean, these kids have not had a full day of school since pretty much before the holidays. You know, they've had 1 or 2 days off, and the concern that's coming up, certainly to other personnel directors, but also to me just from our building principals, is the concern that they can't get any momentum because these kids are out at least 1 or 2 days of the week, and it's the continuity issue that's causing this emergency circumstance that we would encourage you to look at this more closely.
Mr. Tackerson?
With my experience in teaching, I can tell you if you're interested in the quality of what happens in a classroom in one day, you're going to have much more taking place effectively in February than you will have in the last part of June. Secondly, as someone who taught on the 4th floor at the high school, in the 1 year that we went over, I can tell you, you know, people were bringing in fans. We had at the Smith School early in the number of cases at the middle schools and what have you. Just because we did the calendar the way we did, which usually would work. Okay, but this is a special time and need, and having lived through that other time and having taught, if you want the students and teachers to be most productive, I think February is the time. And just, I haven't taken any survey, but over the years, people who make vacation plans usually do plan. I would think the majority of them, when I've seen over the years, doesn't people. Yes, we will affect people in February, there's no doubt about it. But if we're reasonable, like Dr. Sal mentioned, and our person, Dr. Kim mentioned, and you try to work with, you know, those who have made commitments as presidents. I think that's the way to go. I just think that's overall the best way to do it.
Anyone else who hasn't spoken yet? Last.
As you know, I'm in very close touch with the principals, literally on a daily basis, and principal after principal is reporting significant concerns, going back to Kim's point, that we just have not had continuity of instruction. I also want to reiterate what Mr. Tabersack said. Last year, the year before, the year before, the year before, the year before, come June, everybody says kids just shut down. And every year since I've been here, we've had parents calling, asking why don't we have a heat index policy, saying if it gets over 90 degrees, for example, in the classroom, we should shut down. And we've had classrooms reporting 95, 98 degrees. So as we go longer in June, not only is the instruction completely ineffective, but probably actually borders on being dangerous. And we have Mrs. Lavasser, head of school nurses, as you know, monitoring that literally on a day-by-day, hour-by-hour basis to let us know if there's something that really is dangerous. We have principals taking kids down to the lower floors. We have them bringing them outside, the auditorium, and making sure they're in the computer labs, which are air-conditioned. It's just not a good thing to go to late in June, not in Connecticut.
I need to add, I'm sorry, just so for the board's information, I'm looking at Melanie, she does transportation. We did notify our private and broken, and most of them will go along with our calendar.
That's cool.
Okay. Just because that is an issue, we have to bust them, and we notify them until we notify them tomorrow in terms of if you make a decision.
I have a question. Did we consider, or did we even have the facility to, at the same time we were polling parents, again, I don't think that was a foolproof system because I didn't get a call and I'm not on a do not call list. So, but at the same time we're polling parents, we got about half the students responding, I guess half the families responding. Did we consider reaching out to the employees to see, you know, how many had plans, how many wouldn't be there, and how much substitutes we would need to bring in? You know, that could be an enormous expense that we may not be able to fill. Did we consider that at the same time we're thinking about this?
Yes, and if we had a small staff, we'd probably do it. I'm with Bob. I don't believe as many will be taking the Friday, Monday. But to go out there and ask everyone at this point, you know, when we just discovered this weekend we had this option on our phone tree, so no, we didn't ask that question. How many we could have added that, but we did not. Can't explain why you didn't get a call, because if you get a call in the morning, you should have gotten it then as well. But that's an unknown at this point. That's what I prefaced my remarks. It is an unknown at this point. I can't tell you. If you do this, I'd have to, you know, we would see how many would apply, and then I could report to you. You know, tell me, and we'll get it out there, and we'll see what we get, and I'll let you know. I don't know any other way of doing it. We have 800, and we have 1,400 employees.
1,400 employees, right.
Yeah.
They just have to document to us they had something before, we just didn't do that.
Do we have a phone tree for employees, similar to what we have with our students?
Well, employees get they're on the,
robocall.
right, they're on the phone for the snow delays and that kind of thing.
Same thing we had first of this. We have a staff team.
Right, so you could have sent a generic note with the students to employees, but there's no way for us to tell how many students responded and how many employees would be short or how many substitutes we needed that day. Mrs. Molinaro?
Don't we have to work on this right tonight? We would have to do this immediately, we would have to add it as an action item.
If it's not done tonight, it's a moot point. We have no further meetings before this is done, so this would have to be added as an action item tonight. Mr. Janelli?
Kim, as you indicated, you're not really sure how the teachers are going to be somehow compensated, to use that word, or not penalized.
Right.
At what point do you think, the board can be advised, that you would have a decision? Question number one. Number two, is this something that we have to vote on or put into it as a policy? Or no?
No, it's good.
I just asked.
Right. I've had, as Mrs. Mission noted before, we've had discussions about this, and we're all kind of fixed on how to proceed. And part of what we're hampered with is we don't really know how many people we're talking about. So, you know, I think that you can certainly proceed with respect to all the other people, the non-teacher people. I think you can proceed with some relative certainty about, you know, applying personal days or what we're going to do with those folks. But with the teachers, it's a difficult question, partly because there are two groups, as somebody said earlier, who are going to be angry. I mean, the group that has the prepaid vacation that wants to now take the time, and the group that doesn't have the prepaid vacation that are sitting in the classroom teaching when their colleagues are off on a paid vacation. So the union is, with all due respect, a little bit between a rock and a hard place, because they're going to have somebody that's not happy. So I'm not sure that, you know, we have brainstormed about whether we can come to some resolution about it, but we haven't as of the time of this meeting. I mean, I could look for some guidance on it, I guess.
But at some point when you do, I think you should at least advise the board members
Absolutely.
as to what you've done.
Absolutely.
I don't think we can always appease everybody. The other thing is, if we make a motion to put this on as an action item tonight, we have an unknown cost factor. We're putting something, we're voting on something, doing something, because time is of the essence to do it, and we don't really understand what the financial implication is to a particular budget that's kind of lean to begin with.
Right. I mean, to know with any certainty, we would have to have all the people who had the plans have submitted their documentation already, and we just don't have that. I mean, what some districts have said is those people who can submit evidence of financial hardship by a certain day. Mrs. Mershin and I discussed by the day this board takes action. So in other words, anybody who goes out and buys a ticket tomorrow wouldn't be able to take the time. But by this certain day, but we just don't, she's not able to, and I'm not able to get a handle on how many of those people we're talking about. We haven't had the time to be able to gather those sorts of applications, really.
And again, worst case scenario is you can have just a lot without a firm policy or discipline. You can have a lot of people opting not to be there, all right? You can have substitutes that you can't get, so you can have just chaos on the hand. Or looking at it, it's playing the devil's advocate. I mean, I'm not saying I don't know what to do, and I'm sure you don't know what to do, because it's having a crystal ball, but I'm just trying to understand the parameters.
Let me follow up on that. In your estimation, or is there an estimate, what is the upper limit of the number of staff people that could not be present. It'll vary from building to building, but if we have 1,400 employees and 700 of them aren't there, even if we had the money to pay for 700 substitute people, logistically, we couldn't find
We couldn't
700
find
people.
bodies.
So you're going to have masses of students in buildings with no supervision.
Well,
What is, the question would be, roughly, what is the upper estimate of the number of substitutes we could possibly get in for that time period should the need arise?
the only thing I could look to as a comparator was we have had days, like days after holidays, where people have called in sick and we've used subs. That number has run us as high as 10% of our teaching staff. So that would be about 80 teachers. I mean, what I understand from our sub-service is we can run in the spring days anywhere between 80 and 100 subs that we need on any given day. So I don't think that's an unreasonable estimate. But then again, not a lot of people are going to have proof of financial hardship. So I would say somewhere that would be an outside limit, that 10% number. And again, you can carve out of this discussion the 52-week employees because they'll have vacation days or sick days or personal days that can be applied. So really, we're talking about this other group. And if you figure with the secretaries, if we can negotiate the comp day as opposed to a payment of a day. We also talked about whether it was essential to have everybody in or not. I think we've come to the conclusion that obviously the elementary schools need to have secretaries to answer the phones, but we can look at whether we need all of those other employees to come in or just the teachers. So you can carve out pieces of this to get a more reasonable estimate of what we think it would cost if we had to pay money.
And then the follow-up to that is, assuming you have 10, 20, 30% of the people, how much of a productive instruction day are you going to get on that type of a day versus a day in June? Is it going to be any better? I don't think either day is going to be that much better, especially considering on a Monday you have to arrange for some special programming to recognize the holiday. I don't know how we would do that, all of that with a skeletal staff and have a productive instruction day. I don't understand how that would happen.
Well, the program could be announcements over the PA. It could be, it doesn't have to be everybody coming together, having major assemblies. This is fraught with its issues. I know that. Again, I've been doing this 37 years. I don't know if there's going to be 30% of our teachers that are going to be out. You have, you see what you have. Cindy's back there. She's at the wit's ends as I am. I don't know if she could respond what she thinks about how many would be on vacation. But we only have 2 days. If you had a whole week vacation, we'd have a different conversation here. You're talking Friday, Monday. How many of you are already gone for Friday, Monday? I don't think you had the time tonight to say, Sal, check it out, get back to me kind of thing. I just, we didn't have that kind of time. We really didn't have that kind of time. When I talked to the superintendents around here that did it, they had saying that, it was a 50-50 kind of a thing. They weighed on the side. We should be able to put our instructors in there. Reading had a whole week off.
That's right. We had a whole week off, and that was obviously a harder discussion. And they took the week away. They were going to go on Monday, but the Tuesday to Friday are now taken back.
Yeah. So, it varies. I think our risk is much less for Friday is all we can do. And to take one day and not the other day really doesn't help. It's either we do the weekend or we just don't, and we just add on to the end of the year and we go in April if we feel too uncomfortable. Cindy, do you want to make a comment? Do you mind if I ask?
I would be interested in hearing what the union representative has to say, if she has anything to submit.
I don't have any numbers to give you as far as how many people this would affect. I can speak to, I've gotten a few emails on it, what's going to happen. My response has been, well, if I don't like dealing with hypotheticals either, but if that's the decision, then we'll work with human resources so no one's harmed. To me, that means no one's harmed financially, whether that's, and we've had that discussion, whether that's paying for a sub or, having put money out for tickets they can't refund, but I don't have any idea of how many people you would be.
You've been teaching in the district a long time. No, not that long.
Not that long.
Yeah.
15 years.
I
When he said he was only 12, I said it's only 12.
Your sense of people taking vacations away, any feelings at all?
No, we've had that discussion too. I spoke with Betty Anderson, who's been in the district long enough to remember having taken off April, because that's what the calendar stated. Again, she said at that time that she recalled, they had worked things out, so people were not harmed in that scenario. Since I've been here, I don't remember April being taken.
The only one that we could find, which I alluded to earlier, was Joyce had mentioned that it was 88, 89 when you took a day, and everybody that took the day was allowed to take the day but was docked.
The other piece I think that's tough with this decision is that you're talking about the timing of it. Many people that have made plans, I would think, you're talking about just a week away, so we don't have,
Anyone else who hasn't spoken? Mr. Janela?
Yeah, I think we're jumping through hoops with a lot of unknowns here. The biggest part seems to be the quality of instructional time, which seems to be a little bit iffy relative to whether it's February or the same thing in June. I just would support this. I just think there's too many hoops to jump through. Financially, I couldn't really support something I don't understand as to what the financial implications are, or even the best case estimate that Ilya would give us and hang his hat on. People are prepared to work through June 30th, and that's my feeling. Whether you have to bring a fan to school or not is kind of irrelevant at this point. But if you want, I'll make a motion to do something to close the discussion.
Okay, and then the last comment I'll make is referring to some of the comments made earlier. When we're faced with a situation where we have to enact what we're saying we're going to enact, and we have doubts about that, I think it's time to relook at the calendar policy as we look to the future years. No matter what happens this evening, when we're faced with reality and we don't think it's the right thing, then it's not the right thing. And we need to take a look at that. That's I think I would refer that to the policy committee in advance of any future calendars being generated. So.
One of the things I had found, those districts that started earlier than we did, which I know we've had that conversation, have an easier time with their calendars as well. So and the state is looking at regionalizing their calendars, whether that ever happens or not, I don't know. But we did start a little later than most districts. So for your information, and it's on for information. If there's no action, then we move on.
So that being said, is there any interest in adding an action item to the agenda?
I'm just, the discussion's still on. I get the feeling here that it does not have really full support that would be needed to make something decision. Okay? That's the feeling I get just going around the circle. So I'm not going to add an action item, even though my feeling is correct. Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
What would be consequences if we do not take any action?
It becomes a moot point because we do not have a meeting before the President's Day weekend, so those days would not be available to reinstate. So
I would just inform the parents that it's scheduled as is, and we would go to the end of the year and then move it to April. That's what I would tell them, because we had asked their opinion. And that would be the only.
and the other consideration is that, again, we did a phone poll, so I don't know, 65% or more expressed an interest in doing that. Again, I've spoken to a lot of people who have felt the same way, it's roughly the same proportion. So it's also, we should take that into consideration as well. Mrs. Scott's first on this.
Mr. Chairman, we beat this to death. I'd like to make a motion to add that to the agenda, and please get a vote on it, and then we go from there. We hire a superintendent to make our decisions. He made a best decision he could. I don't agree with everything, but I think that our professionals have agreed that it's much easier to go to school in February than it is in June, and I agree. So I make a motion
So
to that.
there's a motion to add an action item to the agenda. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Tabasak. All those in favor of adding an action item to the agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimously. Is there, the chair seeks a motion.
I'll make a motion to add to the agenda to accept the superintendent's recommendation to reinstate Friday, February 18th and Monday, February 21st as school days.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Tapasek. Any further discussion on the motion? Or any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Mr. Janelli is opposed. Abstention? Motion carries. Mr. Janelli is opposed.
And I thank you very much. I'll report back to you on the absenteeism so you're aware of what it is.
Do we also need to take action on the half day and making it a full